Hey everyone, welcome back to Fantasy Author Lounge. I am joined by a rugged man from Canada this month. His name is Andy Peloquin. If you hadn't heard of him, I'm not sure why, because he's all over Amazon, but he's given up some of his awesome time to come here and chat to us about his books. Welcome, Andy. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. It's been a busy day of writing, and this is a great way to take some time off and just relax before I get back to writing. So
that's it. Well, thank you for spending time, because I know you're a busy man. You're writing constantly. Why don't you tell us about yourself and your books and your author journey so far?
Yeah, for sure. So my name, for those of you who don't know me, is Andy Peloquin. It's actually Peloquin, French Canadian, but I don't want to sound like a douchebag, so just Peloquin, simple. I write, I'm going to say dark fantasy or dark epic fantasy, because my stories are all epic, but they've got this innate darkness about them, which you'd never know by looking at me or talking to me, but it's just the way that my brain works. And I love doing this thing where, you set readers up on a journey, and they expect something, and then they expect a twist coming, and then it's a totally different twist. And it's so much fun to see them go, what did you do? Hate mail is my absolute favorite. That should tell you a little bit about me as an author, I guess.
That definitely does, yeah. I kind of love doing the same thing with my books. Maybe not to the twist that you do, but yeah, just punishing and yet intriguing the reader at the same time. Entertainment with a little bit of dark side. Why not?
Absolutely. The more gut punches I can work into a book, the better. And I was talking about this with a reader the other day, and I think it's because so my wife is one of these people who is, calling her an emotional roller coaster would not be good if she was around, but she's not around, so I can say it. I, on the other hand, am like super steady, right? So when I want to feel something, I've got to do these, like I've gotta go over the top, in order to actually feel it, to get these emotional gut punches. So I write stories like that so I can feel it, and then for people who have a bit of a more normal high and low, it's so much more powerful for them. So that's why I do it.
Great stuff. I mean, you've written almost 30 books now, if not more. I mean, I was trying to count earlier, and hopefully I've counted right. I think I got to like 28, 29, which is fantastic.
You know what?
Yeah.
I've lost
Have you not
count
counted?
Because so the Hero of Darkness series was 7 books, and now I've turned it into the Dark Blade series.
Yes,
which is those 7 are now 4.5. So the one I'm working on is the 5th in the series. So with that kind of throws off my count. I think 32 is about right.
That's amazing. So. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like mostly fantasy, but also you've got an incredible SFF series as well. I mean, how do you achieve, I would say, because I wouldn't say your career's been short, you've been around for a while, but in terms of, decades and decades and stuff like that, how have you managed to write so many books in, I would say, a relatively short career? I mean, what's your secret?
It's kind of a combination of obsessiveness, lots of time spent sitting down and typing fast. So before I started as an author, I was doing copywriting and blogging and all of that. So I would write 10,000 words a day, 15,000 words a day. So when I got to writing a 2,000 word chapter was like, oh, it's an hour and I'm done, or an hour and a half. Like even now, 2,000 words, 2,500 words is an hour and a half, give or take.
That is fast.
I've worked from home for almost 10 years now, for as a blogger, and then became an author. So I just kind of got used to structuring my day. I start work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I finish off around 4:30. I've got, chunks of time to write, do that enough times, day after day, year after year, you get books out.
Yeah. A big stack, I can imagine, as well. No, that's awesome. I mean, that's a really cool work ethic as well. It's something that I've noticed. Also, you and I, we've only met once in person, but we've been kind of in each other's circles and Slacks and Facebook groups for many a year now. And it's fantastic to see. Yeah, really inspiring. I mean, as long as do you find your fingers getting shorter, like typing down to the bone or anything like that?
Yeah, you know what? My fingers have already been pretty stubby to start with, so I've got to protect them.
That's a little bit of your writing process. Where did you get your inspiration from for all these books then, in that case?
Oh man, it's everywhere. And it's amazing. It's amazing the things that have inspired stuff. So to give you an example, the Darkblade series was inspired by the Night Angel series,
Okay.
by Brent Weeks, by the Dritz de Worden character, and Artemis
Mhm.
Entreri by Salvatore. By Criminal Minds, there was this
Criminal
one villain of
Minds.
the week who was just like, boom, solved my problem.
That's cool.
I was inspired. This second story arc that I'm working on right now was inspired by Brene Brown's vulnerability, her whole thing.
Mhm.
It's just, I don't even prepare for it. It's just like I'm out listening to an audiobook, watching TV, reading a book, walking, and it comes. I can't control it. The best I can do is try to channel it.
That's great. That's a good way to think about it as well. I mean, yeah, I'm mostly kind of like film and TV, and just like a conversation or an element of just I don't know, a phrase will sometimes get me, and I think, and before I know, I've got this. Yeah.
I wrote an entire poem one time because, you know, one of these above ground swimming pools for kids, it had a blue whale on the side of the pool, and that inspired this ridiculous humorous poem. And it's just like, you just kind of have to let it happen.
Yeah, like you said, you're like a channeler for the ideas that come, or, you know, just basically a conduit. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's just, yeah, it impresses me both I would say, yeah, being a conduit, and obviously the speed your type as well. But I mean, as an author, I mean, are you driven purely by the books? Is there an element of kind of business as well? Not to get rid of the creativity too much, but what drives you as an author, and, you know, to put these books out ASAP and with such quality and drive, essentially?
So if you had seen me in the last couple of months, you would have an answer to the question. I played The Witcher 3. I made the mistake of playing The Witcher 3 and got so sucked into it. And for the last month before I finished it like 2 weeks ago. But for the last month, it was like, I need to finish this game. I need to finish this game. I need to finish this game. And that's kind of how it is with my books. I'm a completionist at heart. So as soon as I start something, I'm working towards an end goal. And that's kind of like, my whole author career has been, okay, I just need to finish this book. I just need to finish this chapter, this story. And it's, you know, it's backfired a lot, but the business aspect of it is huge because I've been doing this as a business for 4 years now, full-time as an author.
Congrats.
Trying to, you know, realizing I've got bills to pay and all of that. So I've got, you know, 4 kids and just having to do it. But also the story itself, you know, sometimes the story, I want to get to that emotional gut punch moment. I want to set it up right so that when I actually get there, all of the pieces fall in place. And then I can get to this moment where I know the reader is going to fling their Kindle across the room, or they're going to drop their book and send me that hate mail. That, for me, I need to get to that point. So everything is about setting it all up so I can execute that. And honestly, it's just a combination of all these things, just love of those moments.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's all very similar as well. And I can see, I mean, that's probably why it's kind of like self-publishing as well. I can imagine you with the sort of kind of mindset. It's like, you don't really want to wait, you know, for anyone. You want to kind of like, you know, it's another project, first of all. It's, you know, it's freedom, it's control. Is that, you know, pretty much why you chose self-publishing?
Yeah, so when I first when I wrote the Queen of Thieves series in 2017, I shopped it around to a few agents and editors and stuff, and I got some feedback, but it took so long that I'd already written the next book and was partway through the 3rd book, and then I had and then I could write another one. It's like in the course of a year, or a year to 18 months is sort of the average publishing time. That's a whole series for me. So if I went the route of traditional publishing, it would almost feel like it would just be too slow for me. And I've got just endless ideas, another story that I want to write, you know. And so going self-publishing was like, I could just put it out at my own speed, make it as good as I want, as good as I can, and give it to readers, just put it right in their hands.
Yeah, and that is one of the beauties of it, isn't it? Of self-publishing in general. Absolutely. Just, you know, no gates, no gatekeepers, no barriers between us and the reader, straight to it. You know, what was the kind of process or the journey around, you know, book 1 itself?
I started writing in 2014. I had a book ready to publish in early 2015. I shopped it around to a few small presses, and it got picked up and published in 2015.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so I had that series on track. And then I was working on this other one that I did as part of sort of a writing boot camp that I was in.
Right.
They were like, we're going to write a totally new book in 2 months. I finished the book, great story, and wanted to do something with it. Shopped it around while I was working, between the two series.
Mhm.
And I was just writing way too fast to wait around for 12 months or even for 6 months to hear from an agent. And then if it's going from an agent to get to an editor and go through the whole process, I realized I don't want to do that. I may one day go the route of, shopping around a book for an agent, but for now, just doing it myself, it's my preferred means of doing it. And it has been for about 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah, it would be hard to kind of break away from that at this point as well. So going back to writing then, what would you say is, and I'm not going to try the French pronunciation, even though I was thinking about it earlier, but an Andy Peloquin sort of trademark that you have within your books, either something that's obvious, obviously no spoilers. I mean, we can put spoilers in, we can put a big spoiler warning up if we need to, but yeah, what's something that's either obvious that you'd say, for instance, one of mine is like I always have, religions, and they're always evil and they always form kind of part of the villain sort of section. But yeah, what's a trademark like that, or something you maybe sneak in, maybe people haven't noticed yet? Get a lounge exclusive.
Yeah, I do have religion typically as not the bad guys, the antagonists, because it's so much fun. Yes. I have this every single one of my characters has no sense of home. So my assassin character has no idea, who his parents are, where he was born, what his deal was. The thief gets sold by her father. The military guy has joined the military to escape his general father. Like these characters all have no sense of hope. And that comes from me growing up abroad and traveling around a lot.
Wow, yeah.
But I think my signature, I think what people best know me for is making you care about a character and then destroying that character somehow, or killing off characters that you love, not wantonly, but to serve a purpose in the story, and to do it in a way that advances the character, the main character. I haven't yet killed off a main character. I'm not that brave, but I write in characters, secondary characters that have a lot of emotional significance to the main character, and then when the time is right, kill him or her gruesomely.
Basically an Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, it's something that I enjoy as well. I mean, I feel like if there's any character on a page, however minor, they should somehow shine in a way, be in like how they're dressed, how they act, how they kind of integrate themselves, or kind of antagonize the main characters, even if like tertiary or quaternary is that the one after that one in terms of character. Just it brings us kind of like vividness in the world, isn't it?
I've speaking, you were talking about getting inspirations from TV, and my wife and we've been watching Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime, and this show, the writers, Daniel and Amy Sherman Palladino, they do an amazing job of making every single minor character and major character, obviously, stand out in some way. If these characters show up on the screen, they do something interesting. Like there's this one scene in the latest episode where Mrs. Maisel is talking to a fellow comedian, a much more famous one, and this milkman comes driving up behind them, and these two people are having a talk, and the milkman's like, hey, to the famous comedian, I love your work. He's like, thank you, and they keep talking, and he's like, hey, and then finally he's like, fuck you, you suck. And it drives off, and it was like, what? They could have done this thing where it ended at I love your work, and the guy gets off to deliver his milk. But because they take it just a couple of minutes, like a minute further, it becomes a much more memorable thing, and that really like affected the way that I'm seeing characters that I'm writing now, is giving them a lot more, like making them serve more than just one purpose.
No, that's a good idea as well. It's a good rule to live by as well. So we've had Criminal Minds and Miss Maisel as well. Are there any other weird ones I want to know in terms of like things that you think wouldn't inspire and yet do for you? Because that's quite interesting. I like that. I've yet to watch those.
Honestly, a show that did a really, really good job recently was 1883. It's the spinoff of Yellowstone, and though it's a Wild West show, that it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it does such an amazing job of following these characters and really giving you an insight into their psyche, what drives them. The dialogue was super snappy and crisp, but it was the empathy and the way that we connected with the characters. That for me is I would say is another one of my signature trademarks as an author, is that I need to understand and connect with the characters that I'm writing. So I basically walk the reader through their emotional arcs, whatever's going on in their heads, whatever they're wrestling with. I show that through the story, so I feel connected to them, and the reader does as well. And so when something bad happens, obviously it's got more impact to it. And that's something that I noticed that he did in 1883. Every single one of the characters that the story revolved around had a lot of genuine human connection, and that made them interesting to me, even the ones that I had nothing in common with, like the 18-year-old girl who's, you know, running wild and free across the plains. Just all of that, I think it was really well executed, and that it's what's made this writer, Taylor Sheridan, such a strong voice in TV these days.
It's like the imagination, the ability to open a door or a window and experience the 18-year-old girl running across the plains.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see you running across plains as well with the buffalo. Yeah, we're not too far away from the sort of plains and prairies.
Blowing in the wind.
How long are you going to grow it? Actually, just a quick tangent. Is it going to be a proper Gandalf? Or are we going for more of kind of like a dwarven shape to it?
You know what? I want to sort of keep it down like this. It can go super bushy, but it's going to make my face look really big. So I want to keep it down. But honestly, it's until the wife says,
that's it.
And then I don't really have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. Yeah, that's fair. So I think is it Rob? Rob's probably got. I'm trying to think who's got the most impressive beard out of our kind of like our little community. You've got to be rivaling Rob. I mean, Rothfuss. He's not part of our Slack, obviously, but he's got to be up there. That's awesome.
He's got a heck of a beard.
Yeah. Next year, Mark Lawrence's fantasy beard off. That's what we're going to do.
Ooh.
That could be good.
I got a chance on that one.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the writing, because I enjoy this, and it's, you know, why I love the lounge and getting authors in and chatting. And I just kind of want to know, like, in terms of your favorite characters, because you've written quite a few. I mean, you talked about obviously the Assassin of Darkblade, Queen of Thieves, Cerberus as well, the main character from your is it the Silent Champion series? I'm going wrong now. I've written these all down.
No, the Silent Champions, yeah, that's the military fantasy, and Cerberus is the sci-fi one.
Cerberus, excellent. Yeah, so I mean, you've got too many books. So with, you know, from all of those various books, all those various characters as well, from secondary, primary, tertiary characters, who's your favorite? Is that too tough a question?
That is an impossible question. So
I'll give you top three.
When it comes to main characters, I think that Alana from the Queen of Thieves series is the one that I am still the most blown away that I actually wrote. Like I've read over some of her story recently, and I'm like, holy crap, I cannot believe that I am the one who put these words down and who created this character.
That's awesome.
It's spectacular. The Cerberus character, I think it was the most fun. Like, him as a character, his journey was very much focused on you know, the former addict, the paraplegic, of course, the whole sniper assassin dynamic, but then the characters around him are just so much fun. His secondary character, Bex, honestly, there is nothing this character would not say. It was insanely fun to write. Like the first time that they're interacting each other, she makes a crack about him being in a wheelchair and about him, you know, he can't kick her ass, literally. Just so no much fun. Exactly. And that is a super fun character to write. And then for minor characters in the Queen of Thieves series, there's this basically a crazy cat lady named Journeyman Donna, but instead of a cat, she has like this little tiny, like a lemur kind of creature. And so the couple of scenes that she's in the book, this thing is bouncing around her room, and she's an alchemist. So it's just breaking, knocking things over, alchemical reactions going off. And she's basically, you know, shouting at him, "You calm down now." And of course, it's a lemur thing, does not give a crap. And it was honestly so much fun to write that character.
That it sounds it. Yeah, I love the kind of like tongue in cheek. There's humor, there's dark, weird. You're crossing boundaries. Yeah, I do get that from the kind of like your book descriptions, book covers as well. There's always like it seems like a strong character element to all your covers. Obviously, we'll be showing these off to people watching. But yeah, I kind of get like the strong characterization overall.
For me, character is what keeps me engaged in the story. A great plot, sure, I'm there all day, but only if the character is compelling. There have been a lot of books that I've been reading recently, or trying to read, even books, big name books by super successful authors. People love them, and I try to get into them, and I just can't, because the characters there's not the connection with them that's not compelling me to keep reading. So that's my goal when I'm writing, is to write a character that the reader can connect with on that visceral level, where they want to know more about what happens to the character and how the character responds, whether it's good, bad, ugly, beautiful. They're there for this character's journey, and the plot is just kind of ancillary.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great way to approach it. I'm interested because I mean, you've got some like badass characters as well as a variety of characters. They seem badass, they're there with their guns or their knives or their swords, etc. on the covers. So if you were a character in your own books, what kind of weapon would you wield? Would you be the sci-fi side, the fantasy side, magic, bladed? What suits you?
That's such a tough question. Soul Hunger, the demon dagger that consumes soul. If I was any kind of like, warrior character, that would 100% be. But then again, Nolan Garrett's Balefire sniper rifle is just spectacular.
Yeah.
And then, that was directly drawn from Wheel of Time. Anybody who's read Wheel of Time knows exactly what Balefire is. It's this magical fire that literally erases things from reality. So as I was writing this, and it was just like, it was the perfect name for this sniper rifle that is like next level. And so if I was a sort of a long range kind of person, which I'm not, I am 100% a tank, right up close. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Deck me out in armor, give me like a giant battle axe or a two-handed sword or a club or a mace. That's where I'm at. So I don't have the patience to be a sniper.
Yeah, no, I'm the opposite, because I mean, like, I'm not far off you in height, but I tell you what, because when we met, I was surprised. The Zoom doesn't tell you, but I mean, yeah, Andy's big. He's a big chap. He's a tall chap. Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, I think that'd suit you. I'm the guy that's like chilling up in the kind of the tree, doing the like, no one knows where the arrow's going from. But yeah, that's awesome. I could see it. If you were stuck in a fantasy world for a week, which world would it be? Obviously not yours, but anything else that you've written, any fantasy world. It could be book, TV, or film, or game, because I know you've also just finished The Witcher. Which world do you want to be stuck in, or do you think you could survive for a week?
Ooh, Stormlight Archives.
Ooh, good choice.
Book 2. After Bridge 4 is no longer Bridge 4, because I wouldn't want to be the guys hauling the bridge.
Yeah.
But once they get out of the bridge hauling thing and they become like the soldiers that they are, that I think for me would just be the most spectacular fantasy world to live in, with even not necessarily even with those abilities, but just around those abilities and seeing all of this stuff. I would be blown away. The Witcher is too dark. I'm not a fan of monsters.
That's it. Yeah, you're kind of like, it's obviously you have like creatures and monsters and things like that, but it's kind of like human based and stuff like that in these worlds. Whereas I think I'd want to see, if I got stuck in somewhere, not answering my own question, but Stormlight is good, because I remember seeing, is it the Way of Kings cover, and because obviously the UK cover is very different, very artistic and white and plain, not plain but just beautiful, and then seeing the US cover and be like, that's what Rorschach looks like. And I think as a big fan of storms and storm watching, I think that's a very good shout. I like that. And it's conceivable to survive as well.
I would probably be in the Witcher's world just for the Gwent. I'd have to say that.
We were talking about this on our Slack group, weren't we, in terms of that's like, were you saying you were the one who got obsessed with the Gwent side of the game rather than like the monster hunting?
Complex card games and board games like that, those are my jam. Like, I am a hardcore Catan addict, Seven Wonders, basically any game that is more complex and involves a little bit of that kind of strategy and stuff. I love it. I end up being fairly good at it. So when I started playing Gwent, and I started and I understood the mechanics.
Mm.
Oh man, I got like I collected every single card around, and it became like I'm a collector at heart too. So it was just kind of everything that I loved, to the point where I'm disappointed that I can't play Gwent outside of The Witcher. I would have to have The Witcher installed on my computer in order to play Gwent, which is probably good because I would get hella obsessed. So it's probably for the best.
That's absolutely fine. I mean, yeah, it's easy to get obsessed because I kind of like that idea as well. Like in games, I often find mini games within games like that. And I came across Gwent. I was like, okay, I could see it. I could see the obsessional nature. Something about creatives, I think, isn't it? And I don't know if you've ever done this as well, but in your own books, and you have to, like, there was a scene where I wanted a card game, and I could have just had soldiers playing with cards, and I just changed the shape or color of the cards to make sure it was fantasy. And then, no, I had to write down the full idea of this game and kind of print out the little cards and do it myself and play a couple of hands and actually get into it. And it's that sort of fun. I just, the side of things I love about fantasy. Yeah.
I created a game that's sort of an analog of chess, the Chinese version the Chinese game that originated chess, and Stratego. Okay. And it's sort of a blend of these things. Yeah. And one of my readers, he's a woodworker, and he actually crafted the board and the pieces. And like, I don't have an office right now. We moved into a new house. So, I'm working in the bedroom until I can get my office set up. But once it's set up, it's going to be like sitting out on a table with the pieces out. I've got the rule book printed out. Oh yeah. It's so cool.
Was this something you did for a book, or is it just something you did for the fun of it?
No, for a book. In the third book of the Darkblade series, Slayer, the hunter he interacts with this antagonist, this demon, not really a spoiler, who is sort of a master at this game. And sort of using the game as an analogy for intelligence, for strategy, for tactics, for the personalities and all of that. And so as I was writing it, I realized, okay, I kind of have to understand the mechanics of the game in order to, showcase how the hunter is actually smarter than this guy gives him credit for, or how this guy is more cunning than the hunter realizes. So I basically created the rules for it, and now I can play.
That's awesome. Well, when I'm in your neck of the woods, I'm going to have to see that and have a go, because that sounds fantastic. 100%. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I'm looking at my little paper game. I haven't touched it. It's just literally handwritten, so it's not quite a carved wooden board and pieces. But that sounds awesome. Yeah, cool stuff. What a great reader to have as well. A woodworker.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm looking for a blacksmith who's going to make me a sword. So if there's blacksmiths watching,
right,
happy to do that.
I would love blacksmith or an artist. I would love like fan art. Yeah. So you see people 100%. like Nicholas Eames gets fan art on a regular basis, and I'm like, why don't I have those cool kinds of fans?
What would you say is, this is a classic question that we get to, just because I like to kind of get everyone's opinion that comes into the lounge. But yeah, the best part about being an indie author, and the worst part, or the bit that you would change if you could. This worst is kind of like a very reductive word sometimes.
Honestly, the best part is being able to connect directly with readers through my email newsletter, through social media, even through my ads. Facebook as an ad platform, my favorite. I love that people can comment and I can engage on those comments.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that Amazon does not offer, and I wish it did, because it would be so much fun to do that. Facebook, my ads, I check the comments daily, and I respond to every single one of them, because that's so much fun for me. Another great thing about being a self-published author is I can go at my pace. I want to put out this book tomorrow. As long as it's ready, I could do it tomorrow. If I need to wait 6 months, I can. All I have to do is tell my readers, hey, it's coming out 6 months, or it's coming out tomorrow. Yeah. It's so much flexibility, and also being able to go back and retcon things. That is nice. Yeah. Because sometimes a better idea presents itself, and the way you've set things up, it won't work without a lot of really, really careful maneuvering. Whereas, go back and change a sentence, done.
Yeah, that's good. We never talked about that actually, because I mean, indie authors make changes. We've all done second editions or re-edited or rewritten editions, relaunches, etc. But yeah, talking about the retcon, just because it's never come up, it's something I did, or I found myself having to do, and I was like, is this okay? Like, are people going to notice that I changed the number of moons from 3 to 1, just because it didn't fit and I wanted to combine worlds? But yeah, have you done it a lot? Is it something, do you kind of snuck in? Is it something you're kind of open about?
Well, so with the Darkblade series, it's basically it was publicized before it ever happened that it was going to be basically an overhaul or reboot, in the sense that it's the same grand story: the hunter versus demons, the hunter with his magical dagger, the hunter protecting this boy, going on this big quest, but the actual execution, the storytelling, night and day difference. Like between what was books 1 to 6 is now books 1 to 4, and there's more words added. Like it's basically 25% longer, but the story is vastly different. Things that happened in the original book 2 now happen in book 1. Things that happened in the original book 1 happen in book 3. Changed it around so that it was structured better, it was more engaging and compelling, and then of course I could do all these emotional gut punches to make readers hate me even more, and of course, you know, connect with the story even more. So like, this was my first book written. So coming back to it after having written 40 books, I was like, okay, I can do this so much better. And I know for a fact that I have. And the fact that, you know, it's gotten so many positive reviews and people still love it, and it's continued to perform as well as it has, means that I made the right choice. But I'm telling you, absolutely nerve-wracking. The first 2 months that I was working on writing it, I was like second guessing myself the entire time. Am I doing this right? Am I making the right choice? Now, you know, looking back, I was like, yes, it absolutely paid off, but it was definitely exhausting. And I still get messages saying, hey, is this the same as this? And I have to tell them, look, I wrote actually a blog post about why I needed to do it. And so, but I still get questions, or people are like, oh, I'm listening to it on Audible. And I have to tell them, okay, so the version on Audible is the original. This is a reboot, and there's going to be no audiobook because of the publisher that was, you know, publishing the audiobook. And this is sort of one of those examples where self-publishing, doing everything myself, would have been way better, because had I had the rights to the audiobooks, I could have just redone them and readers would have had the audiobooks to enjoy. But, you know, again, that's part of life.
That's really interesting.
The downsides of being an indie author is that it's harder to connect with people outside of the traditional realm. So like, let's say you're a traditionally published author, you've got your book in bookstores. Right there, readers who go to bookstores are going to see it. The publisher is going to promote your book to their catalog of readers. You've got sort of a baked-in audience to a certain degree. Obviously, you have to do your own self-promotion, but you get a helping hand. As an author, self-published, you have to do everything yourself. If you crack the secret, it's a little bit easier. If you don't, you can end up, you know, with a series that doesn't sell anything. So it's a much bigger risk, and you have to know a lot more.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, a lot more. It's kind of strange. I don't know about you, but some of the jobs that you do as an indie author, like on a daily basis, like, I guess I just take care of this aspect. Not every day is the same, even when you're writing the same book.
That's very true. Every day is some fun new challenge to tackle, whether I want to or not.
Exactly. It's like tax season right now, and I'm just like, it's on my to-do list.
I took a week between books to knock out all of my, you know, to collect all my documents and stuff. Thankfully, I have an accountant to handle all that kind of stuff, because there's no way I could do it.
Well, Andy, this has been so fascinating, so intriguing as well, just finding out more about, you know, your passion for writing for characters and the speed you write. I mean, fantastic. And for anyone watching who's thinking, oh, what's the point? You know, I only write 200 words an hour. It's something that I always try and stress to people that, you know, say that it's not about the speed, it's about the story.
But then also, it's this thing that I still struggle with, honestly, as a writer, is trusting myself, trusting the words that I'm putting down. I sit down with an outline of what I'm going to write. Either, you know, I've got a whole book outline typically, but at the very least, I'll have a chapter or two ahead. So I know where the story needs to go. And then I just sit down and I basically inhabit that scene to the best of my ability. I'm not one of those writers who's like total immersion and talking out loud and all the voices and all that. You know,
couldn't do that.
You know, some people are like that. Awesome for them. I can't do that. But what I do is I just focus on whatever's happening at the moment and just do what feels most natural for the character. And trusting that that's actually right. I will go back later and edit it. I will ask people, does this read right? But when I'm in the moment, just trusting that after having written 40 odd books, that my brain, my mind, you know, the creativity, imagination is going to take me in the track that I need to go, and sort of having that stop second guessing myself until after I finish writing. Then the second guessing can commence. But in the moment, just avoiding that. I think that's a huge factor behind the speed, because if you're always like, I used to do this, I still do this sometimes, I go back and edit the previous sentence, or I tighten up the previous sentence, or I tweak things or whatever. When I don't do that, the writing flows. I get done with 2,000 words in an hour. On the times that I do that, sometimes it takes me 2 hours and it feels like I'm dragging and it's heavy.
It's my speed.
So,
yeah, no, I get that, because I mean, I'm a planner as well, but I do have a lot of thinking that goes on during the actual the paragraph itself. I'm like, I write it, and the actual, it's the mechanical speed of your fingers, but also the kind of the gap or the delay between your brain thinking, do I want to put this word and that? And absolutely, the plan hugely helps with that. But yeah, I do find myself just being like, this word, that word. And so yeah, it's all about kind of keeping that flow state up and keeping going, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah,
your keyboard, I feel sorry for it.
I go through a computer in about a year and a half.
Oh, really?
Because I refuse to use external keyboards, because if I'm traveling and I don't have space to carry them, then it's going to be like I can't work, so I need a keyboard. A year and a half, 2 years. I just bought myself a gaming computer, hence the mistake of getting into The Witcher, because the salesperson was like, this keyboard is much sturdier. So hopefully this keyboard lasts me, 3-4 years. We'll see what happens.
Nice. I'm literally just looking at my E and my T key on my laptop, and they're just starting to peel up and kind of stick a little bit. I think I've ruined them.
Yeah,
so that's going to be fun.
My space bar typically breaks.
Yeah, I imagine I kind of hit that thing almost like I'm playing slap bass as well. It's very fun, satisfying, or just being like on the return key. Yeah, Andy, thank you so much. Like I said, it's been fascinating, and just like you talk about, books and characters and fantasy with such enthusiasm as well. So yeah, I hope it's fun for everyone watching. And yeah, thank you for sharing your author journey and your insights with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me in the lounge.
No worries. We'll tell you what, where can we find you if readers want to connect with you?
Yeah, so my whole online presence is just my name. AndyPeloquin.com is my website. My books are on Amazon. My Facebook page is Andy Peloquin. I do have a Facebook group for readers called Andy Peloquin's Literary Legionnaires. It's a private group, not secret. So you can find it and join it if you love the books, which I hope you do. Or if you don't, join anyway and ship post. I'm okay with that too. That's half the fun.
Absolutely. Great stuff. No, I appreciate it. We'll get the links down at the bottom. And otherwise, yeah, I'll let you get back to your manic typing and book number 100.
Thank you so much.
Stuff. You take it easy, Andy. Thanks again.